right, good morning and welcome everyone. Today's date is March the 14th, and it is the meeting of the Tennessee State University Board of Trustees is now called to order. The time is now 9:03 a.m. Central Time. And just want to make everybody welcome, all of you, for being here. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning as we go through the duties and all of the things with the Board of Trustees. I do want to give a couple of updates on some things. We did receive confirmation. So in how this process works, the Board of Trustees has to go through a confirmation process. So we get appointed by the governor, and then we get confirmed by the Tennessee General Assembly. And that confirmation just occurred yesterday in the Senate. We had our Senate hearings last week, and so thanks to everybody that had assisted all of us in ensuring that those confirmations occurred. And just to give some oversight for people watching that may not kind of know how this process works, we are a volunteer board. We do not receive any funds or anything like that. We are just here based upon the love that we have for the school, and we are working diligently with President Tucker as well as the rest of the administration to put TSU in the best pathway forward. With that being said, we will need to make actually, we will not need to make certain findings on the record for regards to today's meeting, but we will need to do a roll call vote for the declaration of a quorum today. So, Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Chapman? Trustee Smith-Knight?
Present.
Trustee Norfleet? Trustee Qualls?
Present.
Trustee Smith?
Present.
Trustee Trauber?
Here.
Chair Winton?
Here.
Trustee Young-Sigler? Trustee Vasquez? We have a quorum.
Thank you. Now, the next item on the agenda is, we have welcome and introductions. I've already welcomed everybody and gave some introductions, so we will proceed to the next item. The adoption of the agenda is the next item on our agenda regarding our last few meetings, and so I would like to make a motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting.
I second.
Thank you. Yes, please. The question is on the motion for the board approval of today's agenda.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda items. And as you can see, the approval is for a variety of minutes. The first one is for November 22nd, 2024. The next one is December 13th, 2024. The next is January 31st, 2025, November 21st, 2024. For the approval of the Audit Committee, Finance Committee, Student Affairs, and the Presidential Search Committee meeting minutes, as well as the Governance and Governmental Affairs Committee. So we will need to establish a motion to approve all of those in one consent agenda item. I don't think we need to go and do them individually. Perfect. And so with that, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Okay.
Thank you. To approve all of the consent items as one agenda item.
We can do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
And the next item on the agenda is the adoption of the Audit Committee report. And I will turn that over to Trustee Smith-Knight, who is in the middle of her bagel.
Thank you, Chair Winton. The Audit Committee met yesterday to consider items and receive reports on audit items, and there were no actions taken. The committee did vote to recommend to the full board the approval of the November 22nd meeting minutes, which were just approved by the full board in the consent agenda items. We also heard a report on the statuses of the internal and external audits. And this concludes the audit committee report.
Okay, fantastic. Well, I will. Actually, I was going to do each one individually, but I think what we'll do is we'll do the Finance Committee, Student Academic Affairs, Presidential Search, and Governance after that, and then we will take all of them in one action item for all of the approval of all of the committee reports. Does that work? Okay, fantastic, great. All right, Finance Committee.
All right, let me make sure I have my script with me. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, March 12th, and we considered a number of items and acted on only one, which was to recommend the approval of our meeting minutes, which were approved today by the full board in the consent agenda items. We considered a number of topics, some which I was amazed appeared in the media not too long following our meeting. That item being the grants update. We also discussed the Building Commission update, where the administration was before the Building Commission in February. We had a presentation on our budget versus the actual expenses to date. We also had a tuition update, a scholarship proposal, and an institutional advancement report. Just a note for trustees, there were 2 items on our agenda that may come up for a vote in the future. Those items would be the tuition increase and then also a policy on scholarships. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Trauber. And the next report will be from the Student and Academic Affairs Committee, and I'll turn this over to Trustee Norfleet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Student and Academic Affairs Committee met yesterday, Thursday, March the 13th, and received a number of items from the Student Affairs as well as Academic Affairs Committee, as well as research and sponsored programs and athletics. In addition to that, we heard regarding the AI policy, in which we will hear again from that committee and make a decision at a later date, as well as we voted on our minutes from the previous meeting that we had as well. And that is our report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will now turn it over to, actually, I'll turn it over to you, Trustee Smith, to do the governance report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Governance Committee does not have any action items that need approval today. However, I would like to report on actions taken by the Board of Trustees to strengthen our governance and oversight. One of the responsibilities of the trustees is overseeing the financial stability of the university. Higher education financial training helps the board understand the university's financial resources, budgets, and allows us to hold university management accountable for the financial decisions and ensure transparency, which builds trust among our stakeholders. The Board of Trustees, along with some key administrative staff, have received training from the Tennessee Higher Education Commission and the Tennessee Board of Regents. On June 25th, we were provided training for the first Higher Education Finance Primer training. During a call board meeting on January 31st, 2025, a consultant with the National Association of Colleges and University Business Officers defined financial exigency, and we explored case studies of universities that have declared financial exigency. On February 27th, the Board of Trustees received training on TSU financial data and the outcomes-based funding model. This training gave an overview of enrollment and student data, student success metrics, the outcomes-based funding formula, the state budget process, and tuition and fees. As we look forward to revising the funding model in 2026, it is imperative that we fully understand all of the available data and information to optimize our success and maximize the state allocated funding. The topic of strong oversight was a reoccurring theme among legislators during our confirmation hearings. It is crucial for trustees to fulfill our governance responsibilities effectively and ensure the health and success of TSU. The Governance Committee will continue to organize informational training sessions for the board and key personnel, as well as review and revise board policies and procedures. We know that good policy, when well designed and implemented, leads to measurable positive outcomes, but more importantly, it promotes trust with all of the constituencies that the board and the university serves. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. And that will conclude all of the committee reports. And I will just give a presidential search update during my comments that are coming shortly after Mr. Sanders comes up to do a report on information technology.
Good morning, Chair Winton, President Tucker, Board of Trustees members. Thank you for your time. My name is Sterling Sanders. I'm the Interim Chief Information Officer here at Tennessee State University. I'm also joined by Mr. Jerome Oglesby, the Technology Strategic Advisor to the President. And the purpose of me being here today is just to bring you a few brief updates about some of the accomplishments of the IT department in order to support the mission of the university. In accordance to the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, which is a federal law enacted in 1999, it requires the collection, disclosure, and protection of digital information for all financial institutions. Overall, the GBLA is required that the IT department ensures compliance through robust security practices and digital data management strategies. And based on the agenda that you see before you, I'll provide you with the security update, in which we have to provide at least at a minimum on an annual basis, followed by several initiatives that we've accomplished. Just taking a look at some of the security achievements, based on the way we strengthen our cybersecurity posture, this is through our cyber security solution known as Sophos, in which we have endpoint management, network security, and also managed data and response, which provides 24/7 response in the event of an account compromise or any particular network intrusion. And as I mentioned, we did successfully fulfill all the requirements of the GLBA, in which we provided a security representative. That's our Chief Information Security Officer, and that's overlooked by Dr. Bing Lee. We also implemented security safeguards, which includes implementing MFA. That's the somewhat annoying authentication that you have to go through, but it is for your protection. And we also conduct weekly change management meetings to ensure that all changes that we apply to our various systems are verified. We proactively mitigate vulnerabilities. So in the event that we have any outdated systems due to lack of funding, we have network security measures in place in which if there's a Windows 7 device or outdated device, we don't allow them to have network access. Or if there's an outdated server, we put them on a specialized VLAN so that we have continuous monitoring of that technology. And so with the next two bullet points, the strengthening of the cybersecurity and the targeted phishing simulations, those tie in together with the utilization of Know Before. Know Before is our cybersecurity training awareness program. No matter the amount of technology and money that you throw into an organization, your strongest protection is going to be into the wisdom of the users, which is why we utilize Know Before to provide this training to our faculty and staff and students to make sure that they are aware of the potential dangers of phishing attempts and also any other attacks by bad actors. And then finally, we did improve our incident response preparedness. Back on December 18th, we completed our data recovery response plan, in which we tested the ability to bring Banner systems back up and running. And we also did this tabletop exercise with non-IT personnel. And from there, we fulfilled a audit finding in which we did do a lessons learned, in which we'll have to investigate a financial support in order to transition our current tape backups into a cloud-based backup as well. I'll now turn over to Mr. Jerome Oglesby, who will go over some of the initiatives that we've covered in IT.
Good morning. My name is Jerome Oglesby. I am a strategic advisor to the president with IT. I have a strong, long background in technology and in consulting, as well as doing on-the-ground IT management with Deloitte. The president asked me to look at three things within the technology space. One, where we are right now, and how do we address the immediate needs from a technology standpoint. Then that midterm approach of how do we start to improve some things that we have currently in technology, and then ultimately a 5-year plan on where we're going to go with technology to sustain the university. So some of the things that we've been doing, as you can see on the screen right now, is just really focusing on what we're doing right now. How do we address the basics within technology? Things around operations, security, and the controls that we have within IT. That includes some of the policies that we'll be looking at and changing, as you see some of them on the screen right now. That also includes some things we're doing from a security standpoint and how we improve security within the university. And then some of those things that are related to the controls of how we manage the controls that we have in the university from security, policy, and procedure standpoint. So the first one we'll talk about is the AI policy, and Sterling is going to just provide a few comments around what we've done with our AI policy.
Thank you, Mr. Oglesby. And as it was mentioned by Provost Melton, I do appreciate the feedback from the Board of Trustees, in which we will look deeper into improving the context of that AI policy so that we can get that implemented before the July 1st date. And also, we plan on redesigning our website so that we can have improved controls and security by being able to relocate some things that are currently public facing behind our intranet, so that it does require authentication in order to access those technology resources. We're going to make some improvements with our TSU email in order to improve communication and security for our retirees and alumni. And also, with our partnership with SIG, we've been able to discover several digital transformation opportunities. We've completed several BPAs, business process assessments, in which most recently with the IT department, we managed to save the university approximately $35,000 with the penetration testing that we just recently completed. And then finally, we successfully addressed all the outstanding FY23, FY24 IT-related audit findings as it related to addressing least privileged access to systems and implementing routine auditing of access to our data centers.
And let me just say a couple of things about at least a couple of those on there. The website enhancements that we're looking at is in two steps. One, we're doing an immediate search of everything on our website and ensuring that we're in compliance with all federally mandated actions, and ensuring that we're moving anything that's on those websites that could put us in compromise to that. That's step one. And we're taking that step right now and ensuring that is in place across the entire university from an internal website and external facing website perspective. The second is we're looking at our current website today to see if there are some immediate changes that we can make to make the website more appealing, both to our potential students, the public, parents, but then secure some things behind that website that are only intended to be for the university and the university's use. So that's two steps that we're taking across the website to ensure that that's in place. The email policy is something that's new, and we're going to be implementing that to ensure that there is a policy in place of when you are part of the university as a student, faculty, or staff, there is a different set of policies when you leave the university as a former student, alumni, or retiree. So those will be two separate policies, two separate approaches. You may end up having two different email addresses because you are no longer in one of those categories. So that's part of the immediate security things that we're doing right now to make sure that we're putting things in place to make the university more secure. A couple things I'll add in terms of the other two phases that I talked about, the midterm and then the long-term 5-year plan. We're looking at future enhancements of our website to really make it world-class in terms of a university and how we present the university externally to the public. The others around some of our applications and systems, ensuring that our applications and systems are up to par with other universities, that they are following some of the business processes that we're actually changing inside of the university to make it easier for students to move through the process. We're going to change some of those applications to make sure they follow that and can adhere to that. And then on the future 5-year plan, it's really looking at how we start to support many of those new processes we put in place, but enhance our web presence, enhance our external presence, increase the security controls that we have inside of the university, and really get the university functioning at a very high technology level. That is it for our update. Happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I will turn it over to President Tucker for the President's report.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I didn't see you. And I let y'all go back, so you got to come back up. Thank you. Trustee Qualls has a question. So sorry, I didn't see you. Or two, or maybe 5.
The quota starts over today.
We love you and your questions.
I know. So the question, quick question, when you were talking about the internal versus external, is that more like an intranet structure?
Yes, so when I talk about there was a split between the external facing, is actually the internet. So that's the internet facing. The internal piece is the intranet. We don't have a true intranet today. So we'll be building that. We're going to actually do it in 2 phases. We're going to build an interim. That's going to be a very quick fix, and that's going to be up in a few weeks. And then we'll, at a longer point in time, we'll build a true intranet back end. That's going to take a little bit more time, but we really want to separate that for security reasons, but also from a aesthetic standpoint in terms of interacting with external public versus interacting with the internal school and students, as well as faculty and instructors having a place where they can have true interface and content that's associated with them versus everything the public sees.
Right, thank you. The second question that I have is, it's going back to the AI policy. And I thought about this last night, and it really hit me where I was struggling yesterday with it. It was more of generative AI, meaning how we're using content, versus the AI tool and all of the tools and platforms or other software that we may have. Are we having different policies, or are you trying to do an umbrella AI policy that would cover the tool as well as generative AI content that's coming out of the tools that we're using for students, faculty, and staff?
Yeah, I think Dr. Melton actually has a policy that she has presented to the board, and that policy does cover everything. It is different in how we use the tools versus how individuals are governed under those policies. So the tools, we're actually looking at it holistically, and then there's individual policies that are going to govern how you actually use those tools inside of the different use cases.
So just so I'm clear, when you presented that you're developing AI policy, there will be different policies, not just one. So I know we have the one that's coming out of the use of generative AI, but are we also having another policy about the tools?
They will be in conjunction with that policy. So it'll actually be an umbrella policy, but they'll be in conjunction with the policies that we're doing around the tools. So they'll be combined. There'll be different sections that govern different things within that policy, but it'll be one policy that covers all.
That's it. Thank you.
I do have a brief question. Good morning. So I guess in terms of like the intranet thing, I'm just trying to make sure I understand. By intranet, do you mean something like like at least in terms of email, it's internal to where like you can't send stuff outside of that particular network, or is that something that's different entirely? Because I know, like, for example, in high school, like my high school email, you couldn't send it outside of a certain domain. I'm not sure if that's what you're describing here or if it's something slightly different. So if we could just touch on that, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure. So the email policy is separate from the intranet.
Okay.
The email policy is going to govern based on where you are within the university. If you are a current employee, staff, student, you're going to have different rights of what you can send to, who you can send to, and distribution lists that you are a part of, emails that you get, and where you can send them out to. That's going to be different based on if you're a current or past employee, staff, or alumni. So that's the email policy. The intranet is something different. It's really more of the web interface. So it's where you go to see content. And that content that you'll see on the intranet will be different than what you could see if you were an external person just coming to Tennessee State University.edu. You'll see that based on the public's view, but then a My TSU would be behind that, which is the intranet, and you get a whole different set of content.
All right. Thank you.
Last one. In our policies, oh, I'm sorry, Damita.
That's okay. You want me to go? Okay. Just a very high-level thought to it. I'm excited to see the work that's coming, and I know we're going to be building, but also I want to hear, not today, in the future, about maintaining, and what does that look like? Is that in-house, or are those some things that we will, have to outsource? What skills do we need to bring in-house to make sure we're able to do all the things that we need to do for the university?
Very good question, and we do have to go through some analysis around that to evaluate where do we actually put things to ensure that we have long-term success. That would be part of the 5-year plan that we're going to look at, is how we sustain this over a period of time.
And then the last one is, do we have some type of policy or training or affirmation from faculty, staff, and students about internet use policy or IT use policy?
There is
Yeah, so we currently do have a information security policy in place, and that does cover internet usage. There's a section on there.
Is it on the web somewhere?
Yes, the information security policy is accessible on the web. Yes.
Real quick, does that mean we're gonna get a webmaster for the university?
Our webmaster now is Tracy Jeanette.
Yes.
Yeah, she's currently maintaining the websites. However, as we venture off into making improvements to the website, there could be consideration for additional funding and staffing that's needed. And you can.
Because currently, everybody's sort of responsible for their own stuff. Like the different departments and colleges are responsible for managing their own websites. So, and that's done under the supervision of Ms. Jeanette. However, there's no true webmaster to help with that process.
Yeah, we have over 400 web content managers today. And the goal would be that we're going to streamline that. And we need to get that number down. We also need to get some controls in place in terms of who actually has the ability to create that content and modify that content, but also that there's some standards in place on what you actually do with the creation and management of that content. So we have some policies and things that are going to be coming, and more controls and management around managing the websites.
Any additional questions? Let me make sure I look around. Well, Jerome, thank you for being here. I know that you are here at a reduced rate. And so we thank you for your service to Tennessee State University, and we are looking forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you. And now I will turn it over to President Tucker.
Thank you very much. I'd like to give just a brief update in terms of actions and steps taken since accepting the role back in December. It's my pleasure to serve as the interim president of Tennessee State. About 2 weeks into my new job, it was very clear to me that we have a house that's divided. And when you take a look at the stakeholders that we have in terms of students, faculty, alumni, legislators, downtown donors, and other community influencers, there was a lot of misinformation out about the status and what's truly happening at Tennessee State University. So I decided that we needed to, well, I guess I needed to front load communications to all of those key stakeholders about where we really are and what actions we're going to take to move Tennessee State forward in the future. So with that, and sometimes I have some great debates with a lot of academic resources and people who work for me, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting things done through people if you want to achieve a different outcomes. And even after spending 40 plus years in the for-profit business, most underperforming businesses that aren't meeting the expectations that they communicate to their stakeholders is because they forgot who the customer is. And to some degree at Tennessee State, we forgot who our customers were, and that's our students that we're here to serve. So if you back up and make that as your North Star going forward, then it drives what we do as an organization to support students first. So with that, I thought I'd spend a lot of time talking to our students. Not yet, you got ahead of me just a little bit on that one. To really see what's on the students' minds and what's most important to them. And the best way to do that is just go talk to them. So I try to carve out at least 2 days a week to have lunch with the students and talk to them. It's actually beginning to turn into a revenue opportunity for the university because I tell them after the first selfie, I'm going to charge you $25 for the next one. But we have a good time. The alumni, I think, was at a place where it was somewhat confusing about the direction of the university, and it's really important to bring the alumni along with what's important for the university and how they can help with that plan to be successful and sustainable over time. And so we spent at least 3 sessions with the alumni talking about whether university is currently at in terms of challenges and what needs to be done to overcome those. And then the donors were out there saying, well, hey, I'm just going to sit on my wallet and treasure until I figure out what's going on myself at the university. So it was important to spend a lot of time with them in person because I think credibility is established in person versus sending out a video to someone. But if you look at the rest of the group here in the community, faith-backed churches have a lot of input in terms of the credibility across the communities in which we serve. So I spent a lot of time on the pulpit. I tried to pass around the plate a couple of times for some additional contributions to Tennessee State. But those were some great experiences for me. On the next slide. Really the foundation of what has to happen at Tennessee State, in my view, is to reset the culture at Tennessee State University. I think it has to be 2 important parts that undermine everything that we do to build that culture reset. And the first is to be transparent, because if we aren't transparent about what our real challenges are, you're never going to get the majority of the stakeholders to understand why we need to do something different as an organization. So transparency is very important in everything that we do, and it also drives what I would consider credibility with the leadership. Most people are smart enough to know that I can see it for myself, so if you don't tell me what's really going on, then you have a disconnect because they can see it for themselves. And that also applies to students can see the difference as well. The next part of the reset on the culture is to have accountability and do what we say we're going to do in a time frame that's acceptable to students and others. You can go to the next. Why transparency is important? It's foundational to what we're going to do going forward. So any meetings that we have with any of the stakeholders, we have to talk about our financials. Because those requirements under our financial plan for the next 5 years has certain assumptions in there that have to be met. If we don't tell people what those are, then it's hard to align with where the university is going, regardless of what stakeholder that you are. We're going to continue to focus on students first, primarily on providing better customer service to our students. I think I saw an SGA president in here earlier, but there she is. And one of the things that we wanted to do is elevate the voice of the students by inviting them to the president's cabinet meeting, which is the first Tuesday in each month. And she's been very helpful in terms of identifying opportunities to improve student engagement at the university. And we want to do a little bit more listening than talking to our students. And what we're finding out is some of those things are just small things that we could do on a day-to-day basis to improve student engagement. And one of those is we have a lot of reserved parking spots across the university, primarily for faculty who pay a fee for those. But the students are saying, in the afternoon, it'd be nice for me to drive my car up into the circle in the admin area so I can have closer access to the student union building. Well, all we have to do is just change them to all public, from restricted to all public can in effect, use that space from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So we're going to announce that to give more flexibility for our students to have better parking outcomes. Also said, well, Mr. Tucker, it ain't that hard. Can we do some activities at the university that are different, that are student focused, such as a movie night? Well, that's pretty easy. We can make that work. Along with, we sort of lost track because we changed the name of the building to the, I think we call it the, what do we call it today? The campus center. And the students said, well, it used to be the student center. Okay, so we're going back to the student center, and we're going to announce that in the next week or so as well. But those are small things that we could do, and we're looking forward to announcing those. The other thing that we're doing to build trust across the organization is to rework the cabinet that reports to me so we can go down an additional level in the organization. We're using outside consultants, resources from TBR, THAC, and Alvarez and Marshall. We now invite them to the cabinet meeting so we can have a holistic kind of conversation and collaborative discussions around how do we move certain important things forward, and then ensure that we meet our commitments that we're making to the legislature as well. That helps sort of help speed up the whole process of decision making at the university. And I can see the benefit of what we're working together more collaboratively as a group to bring about some changes at Tennessee State University. And then the last one is my favorite group. I sort of feel like I'm running for a political office probably like twice a week because we're down there every day, almost. But I think I'm almost on a first name basis with most of the politicians down there, whether they're Republican or Democrats. What I've learned about that process is that everybody's different in person than they are on the camera. And that has helped build some pretty good relationships with the legislatures downtown in terms of their trust of Tennessee State University. Next slide. So for me, the number one objective in the last few months is to establish a pathway to financial sustainability. Back on February 19th, we presented a 5-year plan to the State Building Commission for achieving that financial plan. It's foundationally built off of a decision that happened in 2021 when a bipartisan joint legislative committee was identified underfunding up to about $544 million to Tennessee State University. The SBC, and I would encourage everybody, if you haven't seen the recording from the last commission meeting. You should take a look at that. It's only about 40 minutes or so, but you can tell by watching that meeting that the engagement with Tennessee State has changed dramatically in terms of the support and partnership for TSU moving forward. So with that, we asked them to take a look and reappropriate the $250 million that was originally set aside for deferred maintenance. Of that, $154 million has not been used. The $154 million, we're asking them to allow us to use those dollars for operating costs and cash flow needs going forward. So that sort of takes off the table this notion that every 3 or 4 months we have to go back and ask for money. Under that 5-year plan, that $154 million allows us to achieve all of our cash requirements through 2030, which now allows Tennessee State to move forward with credibility around enrolling new students and hiring new faculty members. There's also a remaining amount of about $294 million that ties back to the 544 that we're asking the commission and others to appropriate those funds in the coming years. If you put those two together over the next 5 years, TSU will be in a totally different place. At that point, we have complete control of our own destiny and future, but more importantly, it allows us to continue modernizing the current campus. So the vision for me is, over the next 5 years, is that will be a total different experience at Tennessee State in terms of a more modern campus, as well as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves as an organization and be financially stable for the next 100 years. I won't take you through all of these, but if the first 2 months was really triaging to ensure that we could make something happen day to day that was always important, we're now going to begin to pivot in March and April to do some other important initiatives, such as fundraising. At some point, we have to improve some of the outcomes that we have for students. We should be more direct in terms of providing more data to the Board of Trustees and others around a performance dashboard that's coming up down the road. And based on what Jerome just shared in terms of IT, having a technology strategy is going to be very important to reinventing Tennessee State University going forward. So these are just a snapshot of some of the things that we're going to focus on in the coming months. Now that we're, and every time I say this, I have to knock on wood, we're moving past the triaging around just trying to put out a fire every day to putting the foundations in place to be able to ensure that TSU is sustainable in the future. Now, this is my favorite one here, but we got to pause for a minute. Sometimes we talk to the cabinet and others that these challenges sometimes can be, just overwhelming. But for me, I'm committed that all of these challenges that face Tennessee State University can be overcome. It just takes a little time, a little direction, and what I call getting everybody on the same page about how to get there. So with that, this is my favorite picture. I'll try to bring one every meeting going forward. But the number one question I get when people see that one is, what the heck is going on? And then the next one is, who's that white guy? And then the third one, he's everywhere. But that's Jim. But you can tell he's a consultant, but he's having a great time too. So at some point, we can't take ourselves just too serious about everything, or it will be overwhelming. At some point, you also have to have some abilities to have some fun and enjoy the work that we're doing. So I think this picture sort of gets at that, but that is the new TSU. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
I just want to know, does Jim know the alma mater yet?
Wow.
No, he needed a little work on that one.
Wow.
And to be honest, he looked at me and I said, well, I'm trying to make it through a couple of myself.
Maybe we can practice after the board meeting.
I don't know what to say about y'all. Wow. Okay. I think I'm up next. So just a few things for me. So thank you to every one of you and your interest and support of TSU. The committee chairs highlighted some of the work of the Board of Trustees. This work does not happen in a bubble, and there are multiple people inside and outside of the university that are working tirelessly to assist the university in moving forward. And we cannot thank you all enough, especially those with the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, Tennessee Board of Regents, and poor Jim, and you getting called out. But the rest of the Alvarez and Marcel team, you guys have helped us get to a point where I know that all of us are committed to the work, but we are hopeful in the work. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Leah, shout out in the back with T-Heck, and just again, thank you all so much. If you're here, you're watching, you know the challenges that we face, and there will be more challenges ahead. But I also hope that each of you know that we have a lot of opportunities as well. And I'll talk about a few of those. As Interim President Tucker just noted, there have been a myriad of accomplishments in a very short period of time, and we could not be more grateful for his leadership, partnership, and most importantly, his friendship. And I know that there's been a lot of interest in the Presidential Search Committee. The Presidential Search Committee, led by Trustee Qualls, hosted a number of meetings with key stakeholders, and I cannot tell you the amount of time that she and the rest of the committee have had to spend to try to get us in the right place with the Presidential Search Committee. But with everything, there's a matter of timing. And so where we decided as a committee is just our timing wasn't right and ripe for the Presidential Search Committee right now. We will be coming back to you all with additional information about that, but we're just not ready yet. But we will discontinue the presidential search at this time, and then we'll think through some more immediate and longer term solutions as we move forward. But I want to be clear that this process is one that we are committed to getting right so that we can ensure that we have the best fit for TSU's legacy in the future. And then finally, I just want to take a moment to congratulate our student trustee, Tyler Vasquez. Yes, you knew I was going to call you out. So he will be graduating in May, and we are incredibly proud of him. But one of the things that I do want to highlight for everyone, that he has his MD and PhD program at Meharry fully funded. And that is because of all the work that he has put in and the time and the many, many sleepless nights. And so I don't know why you want to be a double doctor, but I am so, 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 so proud of you. And we are looking forward to celebrating with you at graduation. So thank you for your commitment, your time to this board. Your questions are always spot on, and I'm just in awe of you, and I just cannot say how so proud I am of you. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And just briefly, don't want to break your report, but just want to say with that, I'm excited to see whoever takes this role next. Excited to work with them, help them out. So it has been an absolute pleasure. I told y'all back in June, Sean Wimberly previously was a really big help to me. So being able to pass down this newfound role, I guess it's still new in my eyes compared to any of the other roles at the university for students. So I'm beyond grateful to be able to have this experience. So thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, that is my chair report. And I think, do you have anyone else have any additional comments? Please.
I do. I want to thank the chair of the Board of Trustees for agreeing to be our keynote speaker at the convocation for our freshmen coming up in a little bit. I don't think that's ever been done before, so thank you so much.
Of course. Get this man away from me. So with that, I'm going to take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We are.
All right, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Motion passes.